Portland. The Raptors finished the third quarter on a 13-3 run. They have a 6-point advantage as we get into the fourth. Kevin Calabro and Lamar Hurd on the microphone.
Blazers 12 of 15 at the line. Toronto 15 of 16. The Blazers shooting just under 38% for the ball game. Toronto holding opponents to a little over 40%, best in the league. They get it done. They get after you.
Yeah, they do.
A lot of length and speed. 5-point Toronto lead. 10:02 left, fourth quarter. Thomas comes circling off a screen. Had a great look at that one. Tumbles off. Bazemore dispatches it here to CJ. Working that left hand. Stepping back. Yes, sir. Three-pointer for CJ McCollum. That puts the Blazers to within 2.
That's nice.
Fourteen threes made by the Blazers tonight. Van Vliet. Gasol checks the clock. 7 to shoot. Squares up. Mario Hezonja keeps it alive. Tipping it to Scala Bicier. CJ bearing down on Van Vliet. Running right-hander up and in. Beautiful play. And the Blazers tie it at 89. 17 for CJ, acknowledging the crowd, and an 11-2 Blazer run.
And so much of that 13-3 Toronto run, that's been erased, and we have a tie game with 9 minutes and change to go.
Well, Matt, that's the luxury we talked about earlier. Having CJ or Dame, late game situation, you need a bucket. Either one of those guys can get to their sweet spot and get a shot off.
And so far, they have relatively small scoring totals. Lillard doesn't even show up on our board here because he only has 6 points on the night, just 1 of 9 from the field. But you know what time it is.
Yeah, it's coming. There's 9 minutes left. There's coming. There's plenty of time to be Dame time in the fourth quarter.
23 for Rodney Hood. Again, missed the last 2 games with back spasms. Meanwhile, in L.A., all Lakers all night. LeBron James to Dwight Howard. And it's a 19-point lead for the Lakers now at 94-75. LeBron is 4 rebounds away from a triple-double, and I'm going to say he gets it.
Yeah, he gets it.
Still plenty of time to go in the third quarter. I'm going to say he comes back long enough to get that.
Because Golden State's been pretty competitive last couple games, so I look for this game, to your point, Matt, maybe come back under 20, stay there, he gets back in, gets a triple-double. They blow him out, then he goes back to
Well, they've been able to score Golden State, so that puts a little pressure on their opponent. Their defense has been horrific. It's the worst in the league at the moment.
Yeah, we knew that.
And the proof is in the numbers. The Lakers are shooting just under 61% so far tonight.
They almost had, 96 points
Golden State.
in the third quarter?
94 right now, and 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. So, yeah. So they're scoring. No Anthony Davis tonight, but Kyle Kuzma, who hit big shots last night in the win in Phoenix, has 14 tonight. How well is he integrating himself with this new look Laker team around him?
He's starting to what we call his sea legs. They're starting to come under him now. He's getting confidence. He's out and running. He's one of those players, Matt, you love watching playing because he doesn't get a lot of plays called for him.
Right.
It's about the Lakers getting stops, getting out and run. He slashes. He can play in the pick and roll game. And, of course, playing with LeBron James, you just have to move well without the ball, find those little alleyways, and he'll find you knockdown shots.
And he's going to have to be that guy with those 2 guys on the floor late in games.
Question.
They're not going to be calling plays for Kyle Kuzma to finish out playoff games.
And that's the good thing about it, though, because when the flow of the game is going well and they're getting stops, and if Dwight Howard can continue to play the defense and block shots like he's shown us, along with JaVale McGee, now Lakers are playing in transition, they're flowing, and that's when Kyle Kuzma's at his best.
By the way, I don't know if you were on the road. The atmosphere last night in Phoenix was phenomenal. Just watching it on League Pass, it was so good. I felt so good for the people in Phoenix. And I know there are a lot of Laker fans who go and travel to those games. But the kind of just the crowd noises, that I heard last night during that game we haven't heard in Phoenix for years. It was a really a fun game.
Fun and happy for Monty Williams, have this team turned around, because let's face it, man, most of us didn't have Phoenix in the mix. I know it's early in the season, but the way they've competed, the way they've shared the ball, they haven't given away ball games like they've had in the last couple of years. When they've lost, the team just outplayed.
Yeah, they were very much in. And who knows, maybe they won't be in the mix by the end of the season, but it's been a fun start.
You get Aiden back after 25 games.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and there's a lot to like there. That's for sure in the desert. All right, the Lakers lead is now 16 in Los Angeles. Ja Morant with a game winner. First of his career. More highlights coming up. Before some late game sideline fireworks that got Doc Rivers ejected. This is all part of the coach's challenge, this new experimental rule, which, is going to have its growing pains. Not everybody loves it so far. A little backstory. Doc Rivers, you'll hear him explain, tried to call a timeout to challenge play. Apparently took too long, and eventually he got ejected. He picks up the story from there.
Doc, just for clarification, what happened there at the end of the game?
The refs screwed up. I made a challenge. They actually said I was right in the challenge, but that I took over the 30-second time to call it. So then two refs walked over to me and told me that means you don't win the challenge, but you get your timeout back. The arena actually put the extra timeout back up on the board. So we think we have 2 timeouts. I think it because 2 refs actually walked over to me and told all of our assistants and told our players. That's why everybody reacted that I had a timeout, that I had an extra timeout. I think I have 2 timeouts. I call it. We have it. We come out of the huddle, and Tony Brothers walked out and says, "You have no more timeouts." So what do you mean we have no more? I still have one. He says, "No, when you called that timeout, you lost it." Now, listen, I'm fine with that if they had told me. But the officials can't tell me that I get my timeout back and then have me use it and then tell me after the fact you don't have it. That was big. I mean, those mistakes cannot happen. And what bugged me the most is the 2 officials who told me, they ran away. They just let Tony Brothers handle it. Come on. You can't do that. You can't do that in a 4-point game. That could never happen. Could never happen. We didn't deserve to win with the way we were playing right now, offensively or defensively. But mistakes like that cannot happen on this level. That was awful. And the response is to throw me out. I didn't swear. I just said, this is nuts. That's a bad response as well. So it's disappointing.
Did they give you an explanation of why they threw you out?
No, he said because I was challenging their wrong decision, I guess. I don't know. There was a lot of griping all game, so my guess is they were tired of all of us. But when you make a mistake like that, you can't then throw the coach out. Like, you got to own up to your mistakes. We own up to ours. I just told you we didn't play good basketball. I got to do a better job with our offense. I'm owning up to it. They should own up to it as well.
I don't know. The coach's challenge thing, we've seen it work. We've seen it not work, and we've seen it confusing. And I guess that's to be expected here in the first month of the season still. But moments like that create more confusion than clarity in terms of trying to get plays right.
Yeah, you hit it. I think you said earlier, Matt, the growing pains. Because as we try to figure out how coaches use it, you've seen coaches use it in the first quarter early in the game. Excuse me. And then we all know once you get to the 2-minute mark, everything's reviewable. So it's like, how do you figure out the ebbs and flows of when you should use it? Is it a 4-point game? I think we had a Milwaukee game a few weeks ago, and they talked about, Memphis game. And their philosophy is if they can take points off the board, then they want to use it. Otherwise, let the game flow. So each team, each coach trying to figure out the best way. Well,
and it seems to me it's been most effective at the end of games because you don't necessarily review foul calls, and we've seen that a few times. Right. Damian Lillard talked Terry Stotts into one and won them a game in Dallas, I believe it was.
That's one of those situations
happening
you take points
the other
off.
day where a play was challenged and was reversed late in an important situation as well. But this is one more thing for a coach to think about. They've got a lot on their plate already.
Yeah, they do, and I understand we as a league are trying to, make the game more interesting, speed the game up, slow it down, but more importantly, try to get it right.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing coaches want to do.
I'm also concerned about folks who go to the games in the arena don't always understand what is happening there when these challenges are taking place. And the arena announcer will say it, but that doesn't mean everybody's going to hear exactly what happened or what the call was that's being challenged.
Matt, great point. Maybe now all arenas, each time you go to arena, there's a piece of paper on your all the rules, do's and don'ts do.
Yeah.
Maybe should be another little paragraph about the new rules of the NBA to give to the fans.
In the meantime, as Doc Rivers said, his team wasn't good enough to win tonight, regardless of whether the challenge went his way or not. Well, what do you make of the Clippers at this point?
Well, we spoke about it earlier. I just thought tonight that they didn't really throw enough at James Harden. He pretty much did whatever he wanted. I thought maybe Kawhi Leonard should took on the challenge and guarded him one-on-one a little bit. That's the only thing different.
They're 7-4, and that's not bad if you're waiting on Paul George to come back, and we expect him to play tomorrow night. We're not sure yet, but, to some extent, this team was sort of biding its time, waiting for Paul George to get back so we can see George and Kawhi on the floor together. And by the way, we don't expect to see Kawhi tomorrow night because he hasn't played in back-to-backs. Right. But at some point, they're going to be together.
That's going to be another transition period, too, man, because when you bring Paul George back, he may be one of the most unselfish superstars we have where he doesn't want a lot of plays called for him. He plays with flow. But defensively, I see him saying, you know what, Doc, I want to guard him tonight. No double team. Let me guard him one-on-one. Let's keep our defense strong. So it's going to be fun.
The Clippers will be in New Orleans to take on the Pelicans tomorrow night. Again, we expect to see Paul George then. We don't expect to see Kawhi Leonard on the floor because he doesn't play back-to-back games. That doesn't happen. It hasn't happened for a couple of years now. Raptors pulling away in Portland right now. The lead is now a half dozen. It's been a close game. Siakam, if you got him. 3 of 6 from out there. Pascal has 23, and it's an 87-81 game just into the fourth quarter.